Okay, let's start with our motivation. And again, thinking of everything all the various beings are doing right at this very moment in samsara. Some getting born, some dying, some very happy, some very miserable. So many different experiences happening at this very time. Often to people who are sitting right next to each other, because our experiences of happiness and misery are dependent on our mind, on the karma we've created in the past, which is dependent on the motivations, the mental states we've had. So we can have so many people physically close to each other, but having vastly different experiences, thinking very different thoughts, and creating very different causes for the future in terms of the karma that they're creating this very moment. So in that respect, to have a precious human life and to know how to discriminate between virtue and non-virtue, we're very fortunate. But being fortunate isn't sufficient. We have to use that fortune to abandon negativities, create virtue, plant seeds of the Dharma in our mind stream, share the Dharma with others, manifest it in how we live. So with an aspiration to do that and to attain full awakening so that we can do that most effectively, then let's listen and share in the Dharma teachings this evening. So last week we started in the Bodhicitta meditations. So what's the definition of bodhicitta?
Become awakened as soon as possible for the benefit of all sentients.
That's a general meaning of it. What's the definition? Yeah. Okay, so primary mind, that has two aspirations. One, to eliminate the suffering of sentient beings, and the other to attain full awakening in order to do that. So the first aspiration is really focused on compassion, wanting to benefit. The second aspiration is focused on wisdom, because we need to realize the nature of reality in order to attain full awakening. Okay, so right there you have wisdom and compassion together. Okay. So last time we just went over that there were two basic methods for generating bodhicitta. One is the 7-point cause and effect method, and the other is Shantideva's equalizing and exchanging self and others method. Shantideva's the one who really explained it well, but it comes from Nagarjuna. And so we started talking just a little bit about bodhicitta in general, and then we got into the whole topic of equanimity, because equanimity is a meditation that we do before either of those two methods to generate bodhicitta, because in order to generate love and compassion for all others, the first thing we have to do is get rid of our bias towards them. So this includes being attached to some people and not wanting to separate from them and always being near them, and our relationships with them are very, very important. because they're wonderful, fantastic people. So that on one side, on the other side, people who disturb our happiness, who we don't like, we'll call them enemies, even though we don't have to be at war with them, but it's just a good single word summary of those people. And then apathy towards strangers. So we're always, in this emotional roller coaster between attachment and anger, and apathy and attachment and apathy and anger, and again and again and again. So we were talking about equalizing, exchanging self and others. And so where was that going? Here it is. Okay. So we talked last time about the evolution of all this bias that we have, from the wrong conception of the I to attachment to ourself, to attachment to our own happiness, to attachment to friends, who seem to be the ones who give us that happiness, and then anger to enemies who interfere with our happiness, and indifference towards others who, And then we talked a little bit at the end of last session about the shortcomings of having attachment and aversion. Okay, we didn't talk about the shortcomings of apathy. Yeah, maybe we should talk about that tonight. Yeah, you did very well brainstorming the faults of attachment and anger. But, what's the problem with just being indifferent? Yeah, why not indifferent? What's wrong with being indifferent, It's like it beats being attached and being angry, so why not just be indifferent? What's wrong with it?
Doesn't get you anywhere.
Doesn't get you anywhere? What?
You don't relieve any suffering in yourself or anybody else.
Yeah, you don't relieve any suffering or do any benefit. What else?
Your heart is kind of closed and you aren't feeling any warmth, you're just kind of disconnected.
Yeah, you're pretty disconnected, your heart's closed, you're, kind of protection mode sometimes.
You're leaving most of the population of living beings out.
Yeah, we're leaving the great majority of living beings out of our awareness.
And then His Holiness always talks about how he sees another human being, as this human being, that's how we connect. Because we have all this in common just by being human beings.
Yeah, so we can't, we leave everybody out and we don't see anything in common with them at all. Yeah, uh-huh.
And we're not combating the self-centered mind.
Yeah, for sure. We're not chipping away at the self-centeredness when we're apathetic. Yeah, when we just remain indifferent, it's not just that we're not helping or actively harming, but we're letting all sorts of things happen that may not be good, and we're not taking any action about it because we're not thinking of these other living beings as beings who have feelings, who experience happiness and pain. Yeah, so we just say, well, whatever, and then that's how a lot of atrocities happen, actually, because of people's apathy. Yeah, we just can't be bothered.
Also, it's an enabler for, as a condition of ignorance.
Yeah, it's certainly an enabler for ignorance. It is ignorance. Yeah, we just tune everybody out. That's it. Yeah, so it's quite dangerous. Yeah, it seems like nothing's wrong with it, but it can actually be dangerous. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of apathy and indifference. Yeah. So it opens your mind to just say, well, my superiors told me I got to do this, or this is what everybody's doing. Yeah. And so, we lose our sense of, what's virtue and what's non-virtue, and what do we have to act upon. Yeah. And instead, just blah, blah. Somebody else will take care of it. Somebody else will manage it. Nothing I can do anyway. Yeah. So I'm not talking about accepting situations where we can't change it. I'm talking about being apathetic and not caring. And those are two different situations. And so all this attachment, aversion, and apathy fuels our samsara, because who's the object of a great deal of our karma? Other sentient beings. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the 10 non-virtues and the 10 virtues, they involve other sentient beings, don't they? Yeah, we're not lying to a machine. Yeah, and we're not stealing the property of a carpet. We're not gossiping about a tree and hurting the tree's feelings. I mean, when you look at the 10 non-virtues and then relinquishing them, the 10 virtues, they all have to do with our relationships with sentient beings. But when our mind is filled with these negative motivations towards sentient beings, being attached to them, being angry at them, being apathetic towards them, then it becomes very difficult to create any virtuous karma in relationship with them, because our mind is just perpetually in these 3 poisons. Yeah. Okay, so it keeps us bound in cyclic existence. It's not just that it prevents bodhicitta, but it really keeps us bound in cyclic existence, because we don't change our mind at all. Yeah. And we instead say, well, if these people want me to care about them, they have to change their ways. Yeah. So it's like, my anger is your fault? You want me to like you? You change. Okay. So I know I have many discussions. I was telling Venerable Yeshe this morning, I have discussions with Mudita about, if you want people to like you, you can't scratch and you can't bite. Yeah. So, from our side, loving Mudita even when she scratches and bites, and caring about each other even when, as human beings, we scratch and bite in our own human way. Yeah. Not literally, but, in many other ways we scratch and bite. So to develop, the equanimity is an open-hearted care for everybody. It's not a shutdown of apathy, but it's really seeing everybody as a human being who is worthy of respect, of honor, of being alive, of being happy, and seeing everybody equally, whether they scratch and bite us or whether they sit in our lap and purr, or whether one moment they purr in our lap and the next moment they bite us, and then they purr again and then they bite us again. Yeah, and so to have some equanimity in our own mind, because all the people we deal with, they're just like the cats, aren't they? They purr and they bite. We don't always know which one we're going to get at any particular moment. And what's worse is when we look at our own mind, we don't know which one we're going to give out to everybody else at any single moment. Yeah. We all think, oh, I'm going to purr all day and be kind to everybody. Yeah. Until somebody says, yeah, when we're not on the dish rota, will you help with the dishes? why are they always picking at me? They're always asking me. Yeah, there's so many other people who haven't done the dishes as often as I am. They always ask me. Yeah, instantly like that, isn't it? Yeah, our claws come out, we bite. Okay. Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it? Because we all get up in the morning, we all generate our good motivation today as much as possible. I'm not going to harm anybody. I'm going to benefit people. I'm going to generate, keep my bodhicitta in my mind. We generate that motivation every morning when we first wake up. And then, yeah, even though that's how we really, really want to be, we have so much habit with the other stuff that it just kind of comes, doesn't it? Yeah? So it takes some training. It takes some training. Okay, so no use to beat ourselves up over it, but no use to ignore it either. Yeah. Train the mind. Okay. So then the next part of it is why there is no reason to discriminate between friend, enemy, and stranger. So here I'm going to have you do the little meditation. Some of you have done this before, but I think it's quite a good meditation. So, yeah, come back to your breath for a minute. Let your mind settle. And then think of a specific person that is in your friend category. Somebody who's a very dear friend, who you have a lot of feelings for. And ask yourself, why am I attached to this person? Well, first check to see if you're attached. If there's attachment in your mind. And if there is, then ask yourself, why? Why do I have this attachment? And listen to what your mind says. There's no right or wrong here. Why am I so attached to that person? What do they do? Then think of somebody that you really can't stand. Maybe you have wrath or rancor or resentment or anger towards them. Again, ask yourself, why do I feel that way about that person? And without judging your responses, just listen to the reasons that your mind gives. Then think of some strangers where you don't have feelings one way or the other. You're kind of indifferent or apathetic. And again, ask yourself, why do I feel apathy towards that person? Okay, so the people that you're attached to, why? What did your mind say? What?
The support.
They support us. Yeah. They support us materially, emotionally. Yeah. What else?
Because they understand.
They understand us. What else?
They agree.
Oh yeah, they agree with our ideas, huh?
Have the same hobbies.
Yeah, same hobbies, same interests. They agree with our ideas.
Listen deeply with respect.
Hmm?
Listen deeply with respect.
Yeah. So listen deeply with respect, understand us. Yeah.
Share hearts.
Yeah, they share from the heart and from about themselves from the heart, and then they listen to what we say from our heart.
Consistent in their, like, when I thought of the one person, she's very consistent, and when I see her mood.
Yeah, so you kind of know what to expect, and so you feel comfortable and more relaxed, and yeah.
They pay attention to the selfish eye.
Hmm?
They pay attention to the selfish eye.
They what? They
Pay attention to the selfish eye. Because usually when it comes to friend, like if you think about it, when it comes to friendships, it's all about what can they do for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we do things for them, they do things for us, like that.
And you're like, oh, they like everything that I like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah, so the whole thing of common interests, common goals.
I see where it's online, I see their good qualities and admire them.
Yeah, so we see their good qualities. We admire and admire those.
Accept me for who I am.
They accept us for who we are, right?
We just like the same type of things. Just like the
Yeah, we just like the same type of thing. So when we're upset, they understand us. Yeah, they don't tell us we're wrong. They agree with us why we're upset.
Feel appreciated.
Oh yeah, they appreciate us. Yeah, and it doesn't hurt that they give us presents.
chocolate.
Yeah, and that they tell us that how much we mean to them. You know, how important we are in their lives.
And they know when we need to hear it.
And yeah, they know when we need to hear it, and they say it right at the right time. Yeah. And when we're sick, they'll take care of us. So we have a sense of security and trust with them. Yeah. It's like we hit the jackpot, right? Okay, now what about the enemy? So why do you have anger and resentment and grudges against the enemy?
They're dangerous, unpredictable,
They're
rude.
dangerous, unpredictable, rude. Yeah.
Thinking about presidential candidates.
Now she brought it up, not me. What else?
Causes suffering.
They what?
Causes suffering.
Oh yeah, they cause us suffering. What else?
They're obnoxious.
Yeah, oh, they're definitely obnoxious.
They're not on my side.
You bet, they're not on our side. And not only are they not on our side, they interfere with what we want. Actively interfere with it. Deliberately. They're out to get us. They belittle us, they criticize us, they point out our faults. Yeah, and they don't make 3 prostrations before they do. Yeah, what else do they do?
You say they harm the people we love?
Yep, they harm the people we love. They steal our things, don't they? Yeah, they talk badly behind our back. They ruin our reputation. Come on. You guys are sitting there like, you know.
Egotistical.
Yeah, they're very egotistical. Okay. Now, what about the people that we feel apathetic towards? Why?
We don't know them.
We don't know them.
They don't do anything offensive. They don't do anything super positive.
Yeah. So they don't do.
They're just blah.
Yeah, they're just blah. They don't do anything that offends us. They don't do anything that excites us.
Who's got energy for
We what?
them? Who's got energy for
Yeah, we don't have energy for. There's so many of them. So many of them. We just don't have energy. So as we go through the day, let's just navigate around them as if they are, roadblocks, and get what we need to get done and avoid clunking them. But aside from that, they aren't really worth much, are they? Unless, of course, we run out of gas in a desolate place, then maybe they're worth something.
Or when we see them physically suffering, then our mind changes, but we don't see the other two kinds of suffering, really.
Yeah. If we see them physically suffering,
Then there's some response.
yeah, there may be some feeling coming, but in terms of the dukkha of change and the pervasive dukkha of conditioning, no. But we don't even see that for the friends and enemies either.
Sometimes their suffering is just irritating.
Oh, you bet. Their suffering is so irritating. This is the people we can't stand, isn't it?
Well, they'd quickly turn into get job, that thought.
Yeah. Their suffering is just like, stop bugging me, take care of yourself. Don't expect me to do anything for you. Why do you have to suffer right in front of me? I'm so busy. I have things to do. Please, can you suffer somewhere where I don't have to see you?
Like dead whales washing up on the shore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like dead whales washing up on the shore, like Haiti being flattened by Hurricane Matthew. It's like, again, Haiti, they just had an earthquake and we had to help them. Now they have a hurricane, and we got to help them again. And it's like,
They're not real people.
yeah.
Tikis from
Oh, yeah, they want our stuff that we worked so hard to get, that we deserve.
It shows how easily, though, they go out of the stranger category. It's very hard to keep somebody in a stranger category if you think about them at all.
Yeah,
Yes.
They
yeah,
instantly pop to one or the other.
yeah. Very easily they go from one to the other. So what kind of word or concept do you hear repeatedly in this discussion? Me, don't we?
Have they done for me lately?
Yeah, how do they treat me? How do they affect me? Not who are they and what do they feel and what's their life experience. It's how do they affect me? Yeah. Do they praise me and say wonderful things to me? Or do they say nasty things to me and talk behind my back? Or do they not affect me at all? It's like that, isn't it? Yeah, it's all based on me, how they treat me. And we feel completely valid and vindicated in having these judgments about people because look at how they treat us. Yeah? Look at that person. They talk behind my back and told lies. Well, maybe there was a little bit of truth, but it was really a lie that they said about me. Yeah.
Bad intention.
Yeah. They want to ruin my reputation. They want to make me look bad. They want to humiliate me and deprecate me and tell me I'm worthless.
Well, some very particular others that they mean as well, dear.
Mm-hmm.
Until I could get my mind to think bad
Yeah. Well, of course not. Because if we look at somebody and all we see is they have harmful intentions towards me and the people I care about, and we pick out that quality, or we project that quality and then make it seem like that's all that person is. They have no other side to them except that side that is harmful to us.
My mind was so narrow that it couldn't go outside of that.
Yep. Yeah, our mind gets completely like this, yeah, when we're angry, and also when we're very attached. Our mind is extremely narrow because we're only picking out certain qualities, exaggerating those qualities, and then thinking that's all that person has ever been, is now, and will forever be. Yeah, and that really lies behind the grudges that we hold for a long time. Somebody does something we don't like, in 1 year, and we think that's all that person's life is worth, is just that action that they did. That was an action that was against me. And they're never going to amount to anything else besides that. It's impossible to have any other kind of relationship with them but that. That's their whole value as a human being, is that one interaction. Yeah, our mind is like this, and it's not going to turn as long as we're thinking, that's all that person is. Conversely, when there's a lot of attachment for that person, they are like off the chart. They're completely wonderful. They fulfill all of our needs. They're so kind. They're sensitive. They have a good sense of humor. They're intelligent. They understand us. They praise us. They support us. They encourage us. They tell us how wonderful we are. And we think this is who that person is. And that's who they're always going to be, and how they're always going to act. Isn't it? That's how we think. We think that's really who that person is. So are either of those images of another human being realistic? Extremely narrow, based on a little bit of behavior. Then we dream up an image that we put right smack on top of that person, whether they want it or not. And then we relate to that image. We ignore the human being that is underneath that image and just relate to that image. So if somebody is fantastic, they're always going to be fantastic, and we're going to bend over backwards to do things that please them so that they always are fantastic towards us. And if somebody is hateful and despicable towards us, that's all they're ever going to be. And so why even associate with them or talk to them? Sign them out of our lives. Hold a grudge against them for 50, 60, 70 years. Yeah. And then everybody else, kind of shocking to think that that's the way we are, isn't it? It's disappointing, yeah. So what is disappointing, what is shocking, is what the afflictions do to us. Yeah? What the distorted attention does, how it exaggerates, and what the afflictions do. Yeah? And how it all revolves around how somebody relates to me. Yeah. If they're kind to me, they must be wonderful. If they're kind to my enemy, they must be horrible. They can have the same qualities of kindness, but depending on who they show that quality of kindness to, I relate, I have very different judgments about them. Somebody might be extremely generous towards me, then they're a wonderful person and I'm attached to them. But when they're extremely generous towards somebody that I'm jealous of, then they're horrible people. It's the same quality of generosity, isn't it? Depending who they show it to. And you see, we think we're rational people who see things as they are, objectively out there. We're not imputing or exaggerating anything, are we? We're really seeing who people are. Yeah? And if somebody criticizes me or criticizes somebody I'm attached to, you know, they're whacked out. They're totally crazy. Yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with them or give them the time of day. But if they have that, show that same quality, and they criticize and they backbite against somebody else I don't like, way to go. Yeah, do it some more. It's true, isn't it? It's true. I mean, we've got to admit it. Painfully true. Yeah, just go get him. Yeah. And we're so happy that that person goes and gets them, because then it saves us the trouble of doing it.
Keeps our halo shiny.
Yeah. We'll continue to look good and let them do the dirty work.
We can see it like with sports teams, they go out of their minds if their team wins or if their team loses.
Yeah, I know. All depending on what happens to a ball.
Yeah, they're sobbing, destitute.
Yeah. So it's very interesting here to really notice that these three categories of friend, enemy, and stranger, that we are the ones who created those three categories, and we're the ones who put people in one of those three categories. We don't think that we created those categories or that we're the ones who put people in them. We think we're seeing others as objective realities, and that's who they really are. So that person's really wonderful, so of course they're a friend from their own side. And that person's really an idiot from their own side. And this person is just like the fire hydrant that I have to walk around from their own side. Mm-hmm. So we think that we're being objective, and it's anything but objective. Mm-hmm. And then we concretize these roles, again, based on how somebody's treating us. But then what is amazing is if you meet the same person in a different situation, sometimes the whole relationship can change. Yeah? And here I always think of when I've traveled in India. When you travel in India, usually the Westerners stick together, or the foreigners, it doesn't matter, you're Western or Asian, but anybody who's not Indian sticks together, you know, and travels together. So in one situation, you can't stand somebody because you think they're arrogant and this and that. But then when you need a traveling companion and the two of you team up, then that person's okay. they watch your stuff, you watch their stuff, they look out for you, you look out for them, then all of a sudden they're not so bad. Yeah? So it's amazing how it is, isn't it? They change so much. I didn't change, I'm just looking objectively, but they changed. No, we can't leave the story there. Yeah. But I think the more we really do this kind of analysis and the more we see how our mind makes something up and puts it on another person, that the more we see that and the more we see that it causes us pain to do that, as well as it causes them pain, and we miss out on having a nice relationship with that person, the more we can see that, and how biased it is, the more we can just put it down, and say to ourselves, how I'm seeing that person is not who they are. And then make an effort to look at their other qualities. So if you're blowing them up out of proportion and they're so wonderful, then to see, actually, they're just another sentient being with 84,000 afflictions. Yeah? And if you have two deluded minds together, are you going to live happily ever after? My deluded mind plus their deluded mind equals love forever. Is that going to be? Right. Yeah, so, our judgments about people affect everybody who's around us. For example, in the workplace, if we're very attracted to somebody, that's going to affect everybody around us. And if we have a lot of anger towards somebody, that's also going to affect everybody around us. And the same thing in the family too. Yeah? If one person's off, it sets everybody off. Yeah? We affect each other. But what I want to come back to is, we really have to keep looking again and again at how our mind is exaggerating and creating personas out of people and putting them in the friend, enemy, and stranger category, and then having attachment, anger, and apathy towards them. And the more we can really dissect how this comes about and see that it's coming from our own mind, the more we're able to just release it and say, and laugh at ourselves and say, look at how I'm thinking. This is completely ridiculous. And laugh at ourselves. And when we can laugh at ourselves because we can see the stupid way we're thinking, then it's very easy to change how we're thinking. Yeah?
Does the karmic connection we have with people makes this bias even more?
Well, the karmic connection, the karmic connection and the bias are all kind of bound up together, We may have a karmic connection with somebody, but then if we just see their good qualities or we just see their bad qualities, then we accentuate that connection. Whereas, if we feel ourselves going towards the super attraction or super, aversion thing, then to just say, that's not that person, then we kind of cut that. So it's not like karmic connections are made of concrete. Yeah, we feed into them in each lifetime. Yeah. I mean, all karmic predispositions for things. We may have a predisposition for something, but that doesn't mean that we have to be like that our whole lifetime. We can either encourage that or discourage it. You know, it's like somebody may have a talent for music, and it can be either encouraged or discouraged. Yeah. So it's not like, oh, they have this karmic ability for music. They're always going to have it. They're always going to be that. You know? No, we can accentuate or diminish things. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If all non-sentient beings have better mothers, don't we have a karmic connection with all sentient
Yeah,
beings?
for sure. For sure we do. Yeah. I had one friend who, came to a lot of the Dharma teachings that I gave. And, he was practicing pretty well. And then he had been to India before, and he went to India. And he met a woman there in India, and they wound up getting married. And so I saw him some years later. And he said to me, we're just so close. It's like we were, knew each other in a previous life and, couldn't help but being together again this life, because she's so wonderful and, we have this attraction towards each other. And I looked at him and I said, you don't sound like a Buddhist. You sound like somebody who's grasping at a truly existent person who has a soul. And you were soulmates in the past, and you're soulmates this lifetime. And it's all truly existent, not dependent on any other factors, not dependent on causes and conditions. No, he wasn't happy with what I said at all. But if I had said that a few years before he had met her, he would have said, yeah, you're really right. Okay? So, do you see in some way how to create some feeling of equanimity in your own mind? Yeah?
To catch it early,
Yeah.
and then just reverse it.
Yeah. And when you see that you're exaggerating somebody's good qualities, remember they're just some sentient being with afflictions and karma who are not always the person that you're seeing right now at this moment. They haven't always been that person and had that relationship with you. And when you're, really tied up in anger and belligerence towards somebody, again, this is just how they're appearing to me in this life. We haven't always been in this relationship, and they aren't inherently existent like this. Yeah, and if I see them in a different situation, the relationship would be totally different. My feelings would be very different. So therefore, it doesn't make any sense to have attachment towards some, aversion towards others, and apathy towards a third group. Okay? So that's one way to think about it, how our mind creates those categories and makes the projections. Another way of thinking about it is that to think about how changeable these relationships are depending on just small things. Yeah. So today, this person over here gives me $1,000. It's like, wow, thank you. You're my friend. You're so wonderful. You knew I really needed this. I appreciate it. You're such a great person. And this person over here, rips my stuff off and takes it. They say they're borrowing something, but they never give it back. Okay? So they're an enemy. That one's a friend. Today. Then tomorrow, this one comes and not only returns what they borrowed, but gives me $1,000. And this one here, who gave me $1,000, now rips my stuff off. Yeah? So which one is my friend and which one is my enemy? When both of them, in the big picture, have given me $1,000, And both of them have ripped my stuff off. Yeah. So it's just today, that one's friend and this one's enemy. Tomorrow, that one's friend, this one's enemy. Just based on what they happen to be doing this day. But in the big picture, there's absolutely no reason to discriminate between them, because they've both done both things. And so it's especially interesting to watch how our relationships with people change. Yeah. I mean, think of who your best friend was when you were in grammar school. I remember, I mean, some people, I even remember their names. We were such good friends. They're definitely in the stranger category now. Haven't seen him for years, haven't thought about him for years. Yeah, definitely in the stranger category. Yeah. But I told you about the boy in high school who insulted me and made me cry and who was so bigoted. I remember his name. Yeah. But he's kind of in the stranger category too. I don't think about him very often, only when I need an example because I'm giving a talk. He serves that purpose. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's quite interesting to see just how, people that you're close to at some time in your life, they go and become strangers. People who were strangers, they come into your life, maybe they become friends, or maybe they become enemies the first time you meet them. And then sometimes people who are enemies become friends, and people who are friends become enemies. Enemies go back into strangers. Yeah, I mean, these roles are changing all the time. So how can we really justify having attachment, apathy, and anger when the roles are constantly changing? So, any comments or questions about this? Yeah.
So I'm wondering about, when you brought up this topic, you were talking about self-attachment.
Mm-hmm.
First there was self-grasping,
Mm-hmm.
and this rise of the self-attachment, and it seems like that isn't really, that's not really going to go away. That's not really going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, self-grasping you wouldn't get rid of until you had realized emptiness, but with self-attachment, even that seems pretty deeply rooted.
Yeah, it's very deeply rooted.
Everyone wants to be happy.
Yeah. And attachment to our own happiness, again, very deeply rooted. The scientists will tell you it's biological. But, deep-rooted or not, we can still chip away at it and eventually overcome it. Because it's not in the nature of our mind. It's not who we are. And I don't think that you can say we're hardwired like that. Yeah, we're hardwired like that when we're not aware. When we're ignorant, then whatever latencies there are, biological things or whatever, they run the show. Karmic things, self-centeredness, whatever, it runs the show. But as soon as we become more aware, it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah. I mean, if you look, trying to become awakened it's definitely swimming upstream. And it's going against biological tendencies, isn't it? What are biological tendencies? We're all supposed to get married and have tons of kids. We're going against that grain. So if we can go against that, we can go against the one that, we could, start modifying the one that instantaneously goes like this for, in relationship to our own body or in relationship to, what people think about us. Yeah, I mean, there's a way to change. And I find, especially with this one, when you really meditate strongly on the disadvantages of self-attachment and attachment to our own happiness and self-centeredness, then when what you want gets frustrated, it becomes much easier to actually say, that was a good thing that happened. Instead of, oh, the world again is treating me unfairly, blah, blah, blah. Because when I look and I see my attachment to reputation, what it does and how harmful it is, then when somebody speaks poorly of me to a group of people, if I'm aware, I've been able to stop and say, that's pretty good. I'm glad. Yeah? They make fun of me, they criticize me to a group of people. I'm too conceited anyway. Wouldn't hurt me to become a little bit more modest, a little bit more humble. And anyway, does it really matter what these other people think? Is it really going to influence my life that much? Yeah. Okay, it might get in the way of my career, but how do I know my career is really going to make me happy? So that Chinese story about the man with the horse, yeah, it's a very good story.
For me, apathy is actually a form of laziness.
Apathy, definitely. It's a form of laziness. We can't be bothered. Yeah? We just have a limited amount of energy, and I don't have enough energy to care about that person. And I don't have any energy to do anything for them either. Yeah, quite lazy. Mm-hmm. But if it's somebody that we're attached to that makes us happy, then we'll get up and we'll help them. Mm-hmm.
Every now and then I realize that maybe it's a family member or a friend I've known all my life, in whatever category they're in, that really I have no capacity to know who that person is at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes me very sad to see how I think I know who this person is. It could be people in this room, but I have no capacity to know because I'm operating on past things, and it's always refreshing to think of what it's like when you first meet someone, and to keep, get that sort of kick-started again.
Mm-hmm.
But then what His Holiness says and what you say is that we have everything in common if we see another person as just a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so hard.
Yeah. Because we want something from people. Yeah, we want something from them. Yeah, they make us feel, we want security, we want to know that we're a good person, that we belong somewhere, that if we're down and out, we can trust somebody. Yeah, so we're always approaching people with, I want something from you. And, and we usually don't realize it. So I like when we do courses here, sometimes the first discussion group, I'll say, kind of, what are you thinking, how do you think you'll benefit from this course? What are you looking for in the course? And then I say, what can you give to the course? And I know that question is like this. Because, when you go places, people always ask you, what do you expect to get out of it? Because we go places to get something out of it. So I deliberately ask, what do you came here, what are you going to give to the group here? What are you talking about? Yeah? So it makes us change, you know? What did I come here to give? What can I give? Yeah.
Maybe that's also one of the criteria for apathy is we don't think we're going to get anything from that person.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, if we don't think we're going to get something from somebody, yeah, just sign them off. Yeah, oh, you have that political view. Forget you. Yeah, at most you can be a stranger because I can't get anything from you. At worst, yeah, as if that's who a whole entire human being is their political view. Is that who we are as human beings? Our political view at this particular moment in time? No. Okay. So this is, you know, this thing of just picking out one characteristic of somebody and thinking that's who they are. I mean, that's what's creating all the bigotry and polarization in the country. Yeah. Not seeing that everybody is just a sentient being wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. And under the control of afflictions, under the control of their polluted karma, just like us. Mm-hmm. And this whole mind that like, we really want to know what somebody's like. How can we ever really know what somebody's like when there's no truly existent person there to know? Yeah? If I only knew what they were really like, really, in their heart of hearts, what they were really like. But there's no truly existent person there to know. There's habits. There's tendencies. But habits and tendencies are not human beings. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It pertains to us as well. And so similarly, all these opinions we form about ourselves are extremely narrow. And we think we're seeing ourselves objectively, and it's basically hallucination. But that's good, isn't it? Isn't it good that all of this is hallucination? Because if this all were real, then we'd be really stuck, wouldn't we? There'd be no way to get out of it if it were all real. So it's much better to just, you know, be happy that we're wrong. Yeah. The more wrong we are, the happier we are, because that means the more we can change.